All right. Well, thank you so much for coming. Same rules apply, Young Adult Summit rules. So act professional, both on video in your background as well as in the chat box. And then we're going to give it over to Buggy, who's going to take us through our recipe. Hopefully you guys are all prepared in your kitchen. But if you have any questions come up, if you have any questions coming up, the chat box is a great place to throw those, and we'll have a couple of counselors that are good chefs that'll jump in and help you with whatever questions you may have. And if they're above their pay grade, we'll shout them out to Buggy for you. So I'm gonna go ahead and spotlight Buggy for everyone. And here we go.
Hi, my face is cut off. Am I still, I think, yeah, my face is just gonna be cut off. So, hi. Hope everybody's ready to cook if you're able to cook tonight. And make sure your oven is all preheated. I know Scooter mentioned that a couple of times, or if you have a toaster oven, you're not using an oven, make sure that's available to bake and also getting preheated right now. Okay. And so the biggest rule of, it's so weird not to be able to see my own eyeballs, so like talking to you guys. The biggest rule is really always just having your station set up with all of your kitchen set up with all your ingredients ahead of time. And it's called mise en place, and it just means everything in its place. So a lot of the times in the cooking shows, you'll see all these pretty little bowls of already measured out ingredients. And it's just kind of a nice thing to do to you know, just have everything set up. So then when the heat's on, you're not burning something because you're busy measuring something. So first we're gonna just get everything in its place. And where to start. The first thing, if you have your butter available, which I forgot mine. But it was easy to get. So if you grab your butter, you should have your, it's about a stick is all you'll need. And the first thing you'll need is 2 ounces of butter. So that's a 1/4 cup, about that much of your stick of butter. You have your cutting board and your knife. And this is my first Zoom cooking session, so bear with me if it's weird. It feels weird over here.
You're doing great, Buggy.
Thank you. So you're going to take your 2 ounces of butter, approximately, it doesn't matter if it's right on, and you're going to chop it into little squares, like back here. Just going to cube it, make them smaller.
Shouldn't we be using a butter knife for this?
No, you just a sharp knife. Oh, you can use a butter knife if that's what you got. But yeah, that would make a lot of sense.
Buggy, there was a question. What if you only have spreadable butter? What would you use for like spoons or whatever?
That's okay. Just spoon out like little bits of, you could just eyeball how much, like a small little fistful. Luckily for this, with the crisps, it doesn't really, it doesn't have to be an exact measurement. So about that much butter.
Perfect.
But if it's scoopable, just scoop them in little bits.
If somebody doesn't have butter, can they use something else in lieu of?
They can use shortening if you've got it. I think they have some plant-based butters now. Basically just any kind of hard fat. I wouldn't do like peanut butter. Yeah, cheese wouldn't melt properly.
Don't worry.
What about coconut oil?
Yep, we told him.
Coconut oil, yeah, you could probably get away with that. For this, it just has a lower, maybe a lower melting point. It might.
And this is
try
this
it
is the
out.
You
dessert.
know, I've never tried it before. It might work.
Might as
It
well
probably
try,
would.
right? Might as
Yeah,
well
you
try.
might as well try it. And if you do, let me know how it worked out.
And this is the dessert, correct?
Yes, so we're doing the dessert first so that it can work in the oven and then cool while we're eating. The dinner part is super fast. So do dessert first, and we'll do this crisp topping first so that it has time to kind of do its thing. So once you have your butter all chopped up in little pieces or scoops or whatever it is, just a little bit like that, then you just kind of set it aside and get your little, if you have a little bowl of any kind, grab a bowl, and then the larger of the two Ziploc bags that are in your little kit. So it'll be like the regular sandwich size bag. Kind of mix that up a little bit. I'm sure it's thoroughly mixed already from shipping, but, and then just dump that whole thing in the bowl.
Wait, Buggy, did you say put the butter in with that?
Now, yeah, once you put that in there, go ahead and toss the butter in with the dries.
Do you put both bags in?
No, just the one sandwich size bag. This smaller bag that has the numbers on it or the measurements on it, leave that aside.
Hey guys, so Buggy's gonna go through the recipe, and then like if you have questions come up, put them in the chat box, because if we don't have her keep moving forward, we're not gonna make it through to dinner and what we have coming up.
And I was gonna measure out all the little ingredients so you can see what's going in there, but I think for time I won't. But in this is the crisp topping that we're making right now, and that has granulated the white sugar and flour, cornstarch, and then spices, cinnamon, allspice, and clove, ginger, and then there's some brown sugar in here. And basically, if you have a ratio of about 1 part fat to 3 parts dries, you can use any dries you want. If you want to use one of those little packets of instant oatmeal, then it has all the flavors in it already. I'm not quite sure how many packets you would need, but depending on what it is, as long as it's 1 part butter to 3 parts of that, or gluten-free flour, or rolled oats, or I wrote notes and I'm like not even looking at them. But yeah, it's so as long as there's dries, you can mix up the spices and make any other flavors that you want if you don't like one spice or come across something you want to play around with. So what you're going to do is you're going to put your butter into your dries, and then you're going to kind of grab little hunks and let the dries go through your hands, and as you come across the butter, just sort of like you're snapping, flinging butter everywhere, like you're kind of snapping. You're just flaking the butter between your 2 fingers. So you're not smashing it or anything like that, just flaking it. And you're kind of creating these flaky things, because butter is basically liquid surrounded by fat. And so you're keeping the science behind it. You're keeping it intact, I guess. So anyway, so kind of flake through until you don't really have huge clumps of butter, but they don't have to be the same size.
So Buggy, would you say it's the consistency of like a dad bod, liquid surrounded by
Of a what?
like a dad bod?
A dad bod.
Yeah.
Dash's body.
Oh, oh, a dad bod. Sure.
Liquid surrounded by fat.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, my refrigerator behind my computer is super loud, so it's tough to hear.
Whoever said dash bod, you know what? We're
A
not
dash
friends.
bod.
We're not friends. Whoever that was.
Yes, I don't know if you can see, but so just as you come up across the really big things of butter, just flake it, and then just keep kind of doing that until the really big pieces are kind of integrated. It doesn't have to be even or anything. These are seriously it's just your crumble topping. So you're kind of trying to get the fat around the dries so that they all do their thing in the oven. So you end up kind of like, I don't know if you can tell on this, it just sort of, it's not really mealy or sandy as far as like, there's some lumps in there still that are flaky, but that's about all you need. And this keeps in the fridge for a long time, like a couple weeks at least, if you just make it and make a whole bunch of it and then just keep it in there. And whenever you have some leftover fruit or whatever, just pop it on top and put it in the oven and you just have kind of a little crisp. And actually we won't use all of this, so you will have leftovers of this. And then as long as we have that butter, you're gonna do about a tablespoon, which is a ½ ounce, which is just a pat of butter. And it's really just for your apples. So again, it doesn't have to be precise. It's just what you want. So it's about that big. And you'll toss that into a little pan, a little saucepan. Then next you'll get your apples. And usually when you do this with apples, you want a Granny Smith in there, something tart and crisp, and then something a little softer and sweeter. This is should be a Gala or a Fuji. Usually I haven't had a lot of success with red delicious apples. Or once you kind of cook them, they don't have a ton of flavor, but and they're pretty crispy. So a good mixture is this. And this recipe that is today is what I use for my apple pies that I sell to the diner that sells my stuff. And they liked it. So it seems to be a good mixture. So with your apples, if you have a peeler, it'd be awesome to use it. If you don't have a peeler, in this dessert, having the peel is just fine. It works out. So if you have a peeler, then we'll go ahead and peel the apples. And if you don't, or you don't want to peel the apple, you don't have to. Getting to look at it. I'm on there. Okay, now if you happen to have an apple wedger, we can use that. Otherwise, I'll show you how to just slice your apple. But It doesn't have to be wedged, but it seems to make the less waste, so you can use more apple. If you have one of those, and if not, you just kind of on either side of the core, just carefully slice down one side, hopefully miss the core, and then turn it around, slice some more, slice again. Oh, just have a little bit more waste, but not a lot. And if you have any like little brown spots or pieces of stem or seed or anything like that, you can just go ahead and trim that off. And then if you didn't have a wedger and you end up with pieces like this, just give it probably 2 little slices so they kind of almost look like the wedge. And basically you're wanting your apples to be about the same size so that they all cook about the same. Not even in here. Okay. So that with each wedge, just cut it in a couple of pieces. So a couple of even-ish pieces. So you'll end up just like that. So you'll cut all of them and just toss them into your pan.
Those look really good, Buggy.
Thank you. All right. And once those are done, you'll toss these on the stove. And I've got a camera over there.
I'm going to switch the highlight now. Does anyone see her?
Just kind of want a medium heat, and you're just going to let the apples sweat and kind of release some of their juices. You don't want them soggy, but they'll stay a little bit firm, but it'll only take a couple of minutes. And then obviously if you had a lot more apples, then it would take a little longer.
How cool is this angle that Buggy said?
Yeah, it took my iPad and rope and a lot of tape. So I'm pretty sure that's how Food Network does it too. And you can just let it sit and give it a little stir every once in a while. And while that's going, you can get your little tiny bag of fries and just give them a little mix up. This is basically the same thing. This is sugar, flour, some cornstarch to help thicken, and a few spices, nutmeg, allspice, and cinnamon. So you kind of set that aside until you have a good amount of liquid.
Say, which bag do I
Hey,
have
Buggy,
to-
which bag do I use?
I didn't hear you.
Wait, were we supposed to put something in the apples?
Which, I didn't hear that.
Which
They
bag
asked
do,
if something was supposed to go in the apples besides the butter, right?
Just the butter and the apples right now, and you'll
Okay.
sweat the apples down, and then we will add this, this small bag.
okay,
Okay.
thanks.
It's bad, right? Not yet.
No.
So put it in here.
Put it up.
Here, you can go in and check your apples, make sure they're doing okay.
I got an apple sweat. Anybody else got an apple sweat?
Yeah. Get the apple sweat.
Buck's got apple sweat, I can tell.
I don't think so. I just got normal sweat.
You better put some brown sugar on it.
Are you okay? No. It's not.
My apples aren't sweating. Is this gonna take a minute?
Yeah, it'll take a minute. My oven works a little, or my stove works a little faster because it burns at a much higher BTU.
She's a professional.
At the risk of asking a stupid question, what does apple sweat look like?
Okay, so I don't have a little spoon, but it's just a little extra liquid in there, plus the butter. And it's just the apples will sort of look like they're getting softer. You just want a little moisture down in the apples.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are those sweating, the ones you're like, is that how much liquid there's gonna be?
Yeah,
Okay, so not much.
no, not a lot. Especially there's not that many apples in there. Mine's pretty much ready to go.
Having a laptop in the kitchen.
So yours are sweating.
All right.
Did anybody see Mackenzie?
Okay, mine are ready. I don't know.
See me what?
Yours are ready too. See, mine are ready too.
Mine's done.
Yours are done? Awesome. Okay.
Excellent.
Mine are ready also. So take this little, the small envelope of spices and pour them right over the apples.
This one? Oh, this one? There's two. Is it this, say this one?
The small one.
Which one's got? There's two.
There's one that's wide and one that's thin.
The little one with the measurements on the side.
Also, okay, got it.
Here, pour it in.
I was just kind of folding the dries and the apples together. One, I don't want to stir too hard, and any of the apples that are too soft will kind of start going into applesauce, and we don't want that. So just sort of turn the dries and the apples every once in a while, and they'll start thickening up, and then the sugar in there will caramelize and make this nice, like, thick, sticky, yummy apple goo. So we have apple sweat and apple goo. All this stuff.
Hey, Buggy, do we leave the temperature alone right now?
I'm sorry?
Do we leave the temperature alone right now, or do we raise it? Or
For the
lower
heat,
it, or-
yeah, it's the temperature is great, right where it should just stay that way.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Smells delicious.
Good. So you can kind of see how it's getting syrupy. Sort of.
Ours are definitely getting syrupy.
you're kind of stirring it until it's bubbling like it is and kind of turning into a really thick honey. One, you're kind of caramelizing the sugar and giving that flavor, but also you're cooking off the taste of the flour and letting this cornstarch do its job of thickening.
Hey, Buggy, what is cornstarch's job?
I'm sorry?
What is the job of cornstarch?
Job of cornstarch is kind of to soak up all the liquid and kind of like cornstarch, make a starchier, thicker material, kind of like
It's
what
an
you would use for
emulsifier.
gravy. Yeah, an emulsifier. Perfect.
So for you guys, what Buggy's saying too is it makes things thicker, right? So you guys can use flour and water or cornstarch and water to make sauces and other things like that thicker. So if something's a little too runny to like drizzle on your salmon or whatever, or dessert, then you can use cornstarch and water. Read the directions on the side, or a little bit of flour and water works really good too.
And is a good restaurant.
Yeah, what Dash is saying by read the directions is you just don't want to dump flour or cornstarch and water in something. You want to mix it beforehand so you don't have lumps before you add it to whatever you're adding. So
Good call. Yeah, generally it's like 1 tablespoon for a cup of water or a teaspoon for a cup of water. Just read the side of the box for sure, or can, whatever you get.
You see Buggy's stirring that around right now.
Anybody who smells burning right now, stir your apple.
yeah, maybe turn your vent on if you have one.
We would never, ever, ever suggest disabling your smoke detectors, but
you shouldn't have one in the kitchen.
Smoke alarms, Dash. Smoke alarm.
You want it to kind of almost get to
Thank
be
you, Apollo.
dry.
Fair, Apollo, fair. Smoke alarm. All right. Here's what we
Thank
got
you.
going on, guys. What do you guys got? Let's see what you guys got. I want to see everybody's apples.
You can kind of see how it almost just wants to stay in one big clump, but I mean, it's not like a burnt clump, but it's kind of, they kind of like each other a lot, and so they're all hanging around, and rather than being really saucy and all over the place.
Yeah.
And Buggy, is that okay if they clump up, or do you want them separated?
What was that? Sorry.
Do you want them clumped up like that, or do you want them separated?
You want them nice and thick like that, like kind of all together. So when you fold it together, it's sort of.
Got it.
Kind of like totally backwards.
Like clay, it's gelatinous. It's sticking together.
Yeah, it's kind of all together.
Fold it, people, fold it.
And
What does folding the cheese mean?
Oh no!
And that should be about how it is when you're done. And you can take your little pan, and if yours came in like all crumpled, just kind of square it back up again. If you don't want to use those and you have a little oven-safe bowl of some sort, you can use that too. But this works great. Just make sure to take the little sticker off so you don't burn it.
That's a great tip.
Right?
I definitely would have forgotten that.
And then, so you're gonna take your little apple bowl thingy, and if you have a sheet pan, where did I put mine? If you have a sheet pan or cookie pan or a cake pan or anything to put it on, just so, because it's somewhat flimsy, and just to keep yourself from burning yourself getting it out of the oven. And that's great. Go ahead and dump the entire thing into your little container. All that like almost like caramel coming out. So good. And even if you don't want to make it crisp or you don't have an oven and you just wanted to do the filling, this is awesome over ice cream or in your oatmeal or just with a spoon, whatever you want. This is actually pretty good. And you can do this kind of recipe or even just the idea of a crumble or a crisp of some sort with like the pre-purchased pie filling at the grocery store, or just your like some good fruit at the farmer's market that's kind of getting soft or whatever. You can use this with anything. I also do a similar filling like this with berries and peaches and blueberries, all kinds of stuff. So it's really a versatile, like it's hard to mess it up, really.
Hey, Buggy, I have a question. This smells so good and it looks so good. Should I just taste it right out of the pan?
It's, you can as far as health concerns, but it's going to be like hot lava. So,
yeah,
you know.
I know as burn survivors, these guys are probably a little smarter than that, but what do you think is the hottest thing in the entire kitchen?
I'm sorry.
I was kind of going to the point of like sugar being the hottest thing you can possibly have in the kitchen. So
yes.
Anytime you ever melt sugar down, you guys, honestly, don't even mess with it. Wait till it's cool to touch it or try to taste it, because sugar is the hottest thing in the kitchen.
It is. And once, you know, it's that caramel comes down, it's not like, you know, hot liquid is really super hot and burny, but the caramel will not leave. I mean, it's stuck on you and it's just going to keep burning and burning and burning. So when you're cooking with sugar, you really want to keep an eye out. Okay, so now you have your apples in your little container. And if you have more apples, it'll take a little bit longer. And these are pretty tiny apples. Usually, like the size that I'm using is a little bit bigger. So if it takes a little bit longer, or gives you more liquid, it will. So now, if you have your apples in your container, then take your crumble topping, and since you have this butter all over it, kind of seems counterintuitive, but you can go ahead and squeeze it now, even though like we spent all that time flaking it, but you're kind of squeezing that and the flour together to kind of make these yummy hunks of crisp. So you can squeeze them together, or you don't have to, whichever, and just sprinkle a good amount on top. And you want to cover those apples. You want to cover them until you don't see them anymore. Make sure you get some good chunks of butter on the very top layer as well.